What's going on, world? And welcome back to the Pursuit of the Good Life podcast, your favorite self-help podcast that helps you grow both personally and professionally. I'm your host, the Kameron Lovelace. If you're a return listener, you know that we do this every single Thursday to take your personal and professional life to that next level. For those of you who are new, hey, welcome for the first time. How's everybody's Thanksgiving, man? So I know that some of y'all might have did the distancing Thanksgiving COVID. Y'all might have had to pass y'all's turkey dressing through Zoom. Y'all might have had to drop off some stuff. What is it that y'all did, man? Because for me, we just had like a small amount of people who are here in town come over. And everybody, of course, like the week leading up to, we all made sure that we were good. We made sure we weren't taking no unnecessary risk, and we just tried to manage it that way. And so far, I mean, we good in my family. I can't speak for everybody else because there's a couple people that I know that came out and they're like, man, I got the COVID. You know what I'm saying? But I get it. Like I get, maybe that sweet potatoes, that mac and cheese, that dressing, that stuffing, that turkey, that ham, the collard greens, whatever you had at your Thanksgiving, I know maybe that was worth it. And spending time with your family who you may or may not have seen in a long time. I mean, I get it. So I hope that everyone had a very, very positive Thanksgiving, like in that you're safe, that you're healthy, and that with the world breaking down and the global pandemic and things starting to shut down, I hope that everybody is still in good spirits and in a good place. So that's my peace and blessings to you guys. But I'm gonna be honest today. Like today, we not talking about the professional. We talking on personal today. So this podcast might be a little heavy. So listen to it. I hope it really benefits you um, in your life, and I hope that you can apply it to specifically your relationships with this one, because we talking about rebuilding bridges. In our millennial age, we talk about burning bridges, cutting people off. We are like the cutoff kings. If you're a millennial, like like it's snip snip, like it's gone. And once you've been offended, once you've been wrong, oftentimes it is like you cut off that person, never talk to them again. You talk bad about them every chance you get, and all of that. But today I want to go the opposite way, because I was watching the 30th reunion of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. This was going in Thanksgiving, so it's been a minute, but the Fresh Prince was really just it was a great childhood show for me, because they re-showed it on Nick at Night, because I was just a little toddler when it was actually airing, but when they re-aired it on Nick at Night, and I was like, oh, what's this? And I tell you, I have watched every last episode of the Fresh Prince thanks to Nick at Night. And so naturally, when they aired the 30th reunion, I had to watch it. And it was a great show, going down memory lane, talking about how impactful the show was, not just during its time, but during the generations that followed in the 2000s and now in the 2010s. And now here we are in 2020, and we're still talking about how great of a show it is and how impactful the cast was to specifically the Black community. But what really stuck out to me was what followed after that aired. And it was the Red Table Talk takeover. So some of y'all know, because we talked about entanglement on this podcast before, I'm an avid watcher of Red Table Talk. But that particular week, Will took it over, and he actually took it a step further. So for those of y'all who know what happened at the reunion, he brought everybody back, including the old Aunt Viv. And so those of y'all maybe who know it, like there was like a lot of beef, almost 30 years of beef between Will Smith and the first Aunt Viv. And on the Red Table Talk episode, he takes it a step further and really jumps into like the beef and what really went down on his end and on her end, and how they really reconciled, went back together. So in the reunion, they talked about it. They gave it its place, but then they went to a whole nother level after it on the Red Table Talk. And so that is rare. like to have like beef with somebody, extra like big beef, and then to come to the table and then be able to reconcile. That's rare. And that kind of, for me, that's kind of troubling to me. It's like, why do we never get over offense? Like, you offend me one time and now I hate you for the rest of your existence. It's like, I have to keep, going at you. I have to keep saying things about you. I have to keep thinking, these thoughts. I have to, every time your name comes up, I have to have this sting in my heart that feels towards you, right? And I feel like, I'm like, why is that such a rarity for people to reconcile, even if it's after almost 30 years? Like, what it is about. So let me slow down for a second. Who is the one person that stings you, that when you, like, the sheer thought of them, potentially them being in the same place as you, all of those emotions that come up, who is that person? And I want you to picture that person. Honestly, just think about who that person is. And why do you feel that way? Why? Think about it. Is it because of something that y'all did to each other? Is it things that you've said? Is it things that they've said? Is it something that happened? Did they steal your man? I mean, different situations for different type of things, you know what I'm saying? But in the case of Will and the original Aunt Viv, I need to look up her name. But in their case, they were able to reconcile. And so how do we go about making sure that that's not an anomaly? How do we remanufacture rebuilding the bridge that we burned, essentially? How do we go about doing that? And I think that Will did a great job, like, going behind the curtain and really exploring his process. And that's why I think that's your first step. If you would, go watch the episode, of course, but your first step is to do your own work. Your first step is to do your own work. I think I've talked about it on here before, but the thing about it is, as a counselor, we have to do our own personal work, because if we don't, then that affects how we effectively counsel people. I'm gonna give you an example. There is no way, absolutely, positively, no way in hell that I could counsel somebody through families, through their parental issues, through any of that, if I hadn't taken care of my personal relationship with my father. Real talk. Y'all know, like I said, I've talked about it. I think I've talked about it before. Me and my father, we had a beef. Let me say this, I had a beef with my father. He might not have had a beef with me, but I had an issue with him. And that was affecting how I treated other people. So I can only imagine if I hadn't taken the time to go and confront him and talk through our issues and work it out over the years. Now we have a great relationship. But if I hadn't did that, I could only imagine how it would affect how I work with my clients. You feel me? Like, every time they talking about something, I would be like, damn, I feel that same, man, forget that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to know where you stand. And you got to figure out, what it is that's the in and out of making you who you are, what offends you, why you were wrong. And maybe that a little bit of your fault. Part of it is a little bit your fault. So I'm not going to give the whole table talk away, but in the particular episode, Will talked about how he realized now, years later, that his coping mechanism was to make people laugh because of his abusive father. When his father would get angry, he would hit his mom. And so he realized at a very young age that if he can keep his dad laughing, then the dad will not hit the mom, right? And so he used that, with really everybody that he knew. Keep people around you happy, keep them feeling good, so no conflict arises. But what he realized when he really got deeper into therapy was that if that doesn't work, then what he describes as a dragon comes out. where you hurt those who aren't on your side. If you can't make them laugh, then hurt them before or worse than they can hurt you, right? And so you doing your own personal work helps you discover what exactly is your dragon. What's your coping mechanism? What are you doing that you don't even recognize that you're doing? And here's the thing. You might be like, Cam, how do I do my own personal work? How do I go about that? Do I go to therapy? I don't know how I feel. I don't feel comfortable talking to somebody about how I feel and my childhood and stuff like that. Good. Because chances are, if it's uncomfortable, you probably need to do it. Real talk. Think about it. If you are trying to work out, if you're trying to get bigger, if you're trying to get stronger, trying to get, get your squat game up, ladies. You know what I'm saying? Your body doesn't grow until pain happens. And by pain, that pain is literally your muscles breaking down so that they can grow stronger. It's the same thing as far as our soul, as far as our spirit goes. We have to go through an uncomfortable phase. We have to go through some uncomfortable activities and process that will make us grow in those areas. You feel me? So if chances are you need to go to therapy and it's uncomfortable feeling, you might be in the right place. If you're listening to this podcast and you're like, Kameron, I don't know, you're probably in the right place. So those uncomfortable things, that's doing your own work. That's putting yourself in the fire to refine you, get all the impurities out, like you mining gold and making jewels and all that good stuff. That process is uncomfortable. But once you go through it, you're gonna be super duper straight. You personally. So before you even get the other person involved, man, you gotta do your own work first. Now, after you do that, because that's gonna take a minute, I'm gonna be honest with you. You may do it fast. You may take you only 6 months. Might take you a year. Might take you 2 years. Might take you 11 years. Who knows? Depending on how much work you need to do, like that's how long it'll take. There's no minimum or maximum on it. Just be prepared to actually be invested and do the work. But after you do the work and you get to the point to where, like, you know what? I want to reconcile with this person. Now, this is somebody that is like significant. Don't waste words and your time in therapy or your time with these books and all that. Don't waste it on somebody who's really not important to you. I'm just being honest right now. But somebody who's really significant once in your life that you really want to reconcile with, like you want to make it right, not necessarily be the best of friends again, but you know that it's wrong, that you guys aren't speaking, that you guys hate each other, you guys are at each other's throats. So once you've identified that, I need you to extend the olive branch. I need you to reach out. So whatever way that is, I want you to either, shoot them a text, say, hey, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. I want to meet, or I want to talk. Do you have time on this day? And do yourself a favor and see it a little face to face. So if you got a phone, FaceTime it. Schedule FaceTime. If you comfortable doing the COVID thing and meeting up at a coffee shop, I mean, I would recommend it, but I guess you can do that. Because here's the thing, you can only communicate so much through voice alone. There's something about body language and actually seeing somebody that helps you to be able to connect. So schedule that time to extend the olive branch and say that, you know what, I want to meet and I want to just talk. I want to make things right. And that's going to require you to face this person, right? But some people don't even want to do that, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to be honest, I didn't want to face my dad. I didn't want to talk to people I was wrong. I didn't want to say, you know what, dog, I was tripping because I got some personal family issues going on. and you didn't deserve that. So let me make it right, or let me go to this person and tell them, hey, yo, my bad, dog. Some people don't even want to do that because people don't want to admit that they're wrong, which is why it's so important for you to do step one first. It's so very important to do your own work. Before you even try to bring in another person, make sure you straight first. You feel me? Because if you don't, you're going to fly off at the handle. You're going to say, you know what, this is a bad idea. Man, forget, you know what I'm saying? So, like I said, so when you extend the olive branch and you meet up with this person, this individual, your homeboy, your homegirl, whoever this is going to be hard. I want you to shut up and listen. What you talking about, Kameron? I'm talking about, I want you to just listen to what they have to say about the situation and how they felt about it. Don't try to retort. Don't try to interject. Just listen. Because here's the thing. When Will and Viv, they met up, Will realized, yo, I didn't know you was going through an abusive marriage at the time. Yo, I didn't know they offered you a horrible contract. Yo, I didn't know that you had all this going on, and I said those horrible things about you. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't know that you were going through all that. So you got to learn how to listen twice as much as you speak. That's what I used to tell the kids that I used to work with back in the inpatient facility. I said, y'all talking too much. Y'all got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, because you're supposed to listen twice as much as you speak. And so when it comes to reconciliation, listening to the other person is very important. Now, am I saying you don't air out your grievances? I didn't say that. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Because after you listen, you got to admit that you're wrong. When you listen, you got to admit, my bad, dog. My bad, girl. I didn't even know. I had no idea. And I realized years later, months later, however long it take you, that I didn't make that process easy. I had a role to play in it too. And I was wrong. Now, that's, to some of y'all, those are like impossible words to say, but that's why you got to do your own work. It all goes back to step one. You got to do your own work, but that is what it takes. Because after you can extend the olive branch, listen, and admit that you're wrong, guess what makes it so much easier for them to do? For them to listen to you. That makes it easier for them to listen to you, for real. Guaranteed. If you are, now, let me preface this. I should have prefaced this in the beginning, because to do these types of steps and to do these caliber of activities, I'm putting faith that if you're listening to this, you're looking to grow as a professional, also as a personal man or woman. Like if you listen to this podcast, if you're watching this podcast, that means that you are really interested in going to that next level in your personal and professional development. So that means you're willing to do the hard stuff. It's hard to listen. It's hard to do your own work. It's hard to admit that you're wrong. But because you're listening to this, I'm willing to put my money on the fact that you are willing to do the work. Because really, to initiate that, somebody has to be the bigger man, the bigger woman, the more mature, the more sensible one. Somebody has to come to the table first. And I'm putting my money that if you're listening to this, that person is you. And that's why I'm challenging you with these steps to initiate these things. You got to shut up and listen. You got to listen to their grievances, because when you listen, then they're going to listen to you. Very important. Well, disclaimer, communication tip. Try to always keep your voice low. No matter what is said, try to always keep your voice at an even tone. Try not to get hype, excited, because the moment you start yelling, your emotions are going to go out the water and you're going to start losing yourself in the conversation. That's just how it goes. Once you start yelling, like, that's your emotions coming in and your reasoning is going away. So try to keep your voice, even. Try to be cool, calm, collective, so that you can really communicate what you're trying to say. But when you admit that you're wrong, that gives you the opportunity to air out your grievances. Now it's your turn to say, all right, dog, so I listened to you. Now I gotta get these off my chest, just because in the essence of fairness, I listened to you. Now I want you to listen to me. Like, bro, what you said was foul. What you did was foul. That's not cool. This hurt me. What you did affected how I responded, and it initiated my reaction. It was foul. What you did was absolutely dead wrong. And I appreciate your apology, but I just had to make sure that I'll tell you where I stand. And I hope that, we moving forward, that this never happens between us again. Even the same thing happened for those of y'all who are really of the culture, on the Jeezy and Gucci Man verses. Gucci came in doing what Gucci does, instigating, but Jeezy didn't bite. I'm sure he had issues. I'm sure he, I'm sure he still got, feel some type of way about that situation. But at the end of the day, he was like, bro, what you did was foul, but I'm willing to move forward because it's bigger than us. That's a man that knew that had great perspective. And so you might not have a million people watching you, but still, what you don't deal with will affect those coming behind you. I'm gonna say that again. What you do not deal with will affect your children, your nieces, your nephews, your little cousins, those people who are following behind you. If you don't deal with think about it. If you put a big rock behind you and you don't deal with it, that rock is gonna impede on the people following behind you. So I want to challenge every single one of you. If it's really a significant person, now, like I said, do not waste this amount of energy on somebody who is not really worth it. And I think you guys can know if they're really worth it or not. But if it's somebody who in your spirit, like in your soul, like, this ain't right. Like, us talking about each other like this, us going at each other like this ain't good for my spirit. So I got to make this right for my end. And sometimes, I'm gonna be honest with you, this ain't always gonna work out perfectly. What you mean, Cameron? You giving me the step? Like, bruh, human beings are not ever an exact science. And so sometimes they need to do their own work. But you can't control that. You can only do your own work. Like, you got to be the one to get it off of you got to be the one to say, I'm doing this for me. I ain't doing this, like, I'm doing it for you, but I'm doing it more for me. Because I got to make sure my own spirit is right. Like, when I go down to glory and I go up to that upper room to see God in his face, I got to be able to tell him, look, I made peace with everybody that I could. And I did everything that I could do. And I believe he's going to look at you and say, son, daughter, you good. You did what you were supposed to do. And you got to let it be like that. And so rebuilding those bridges, man, it can be a tough process. But I'm telling you, the longer it takes, the longer you take to do all this, the harder it's going to be. So it's in your best interest to just go ahead and take care of it. Rebuild the bridge, extend the olive branch, and just make it right. I know it's a tall, I know this is a tall task to do, especially right now with, pandemic. But here's the thing, what you don't want. You don't want to look back and have regret. That's what you don't want. You don't want to look up when you 50, 60, 70, heck, even if you die young. I hope none of y'all die young. But if you do die young, you don't want to look back in your life and say, dang, I shouldn't have beefed with that person for that long. I shouldn't have let it get to that level. You don't want that, man. Don't nobody want that. So, man, do what you can do to rebuild those bridges. It's going to be tough. First things first, you got to do your own work. So get a therapist, get a coach, get a community that can truly help you with that and help you be comfortably uncomfortable, if you know what I'm saying. And start there and just get after it, man. Start there and just go after it. You feel me? All right. That's what I got today. Like I said, it's a bit of a somber podcast, little bit lighter. Will be the weeks coming. So I got some big plans for y'all coming in 2021. Got some campaign, got a lot of guests that I'm looking to get lined up so that I can really add some value to you guys listening. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. For those of y'all who are loyal listeners. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure that you come back every single Thursday so you can create your version of the good life. If you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, make sure that you like, make sure that you comment, make sure that you share. If you're listening to this on iTunes, give us that 5-star review and subscribe and share this with somebody who really needs this. Until next time, we will see you next week.